Hey guys, Schultzy Phillips here. Welcome to a brand new video showing you my entire horror movie collection. Yes, it's been about 2 years, or maybe a little over 2 years since I've done a video showing the entire horror collection, and since then there's been a lot of changes, a lot of things have been upgraded, a lot of new titles, things like that. So I'm pretty much going to go through the collection shelf by shelf, and I have all the DVDs and Blu-rays in alphabetical order, mixed together. So like some people like it, oh, I don't want to have the DVDs with the Blu-rays, but I like with the horror collection, I have them all together. So I'm going to pretty much go by, through the movies shelf by shelf, and look at the horror collection. So here we go on the top shelf. I'm going to pretty much just go around and point out certain ones and mention certain titles that I really like or I'm glad that I was able to find. One of them that I was really happy to find a couple months back was the Amityville Dollhouse. There was an FYE that some guy brought in stuff that he didn't know what he had. And I was like, those real out-of-print hard ones to find. I was really happy to find that. Always love to find out-of-print stuff, especially stuff that I missed out on buying when it first came out. This is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I've mentioned this a couple different times. Bad Ronald, about this kid who ends up accidentally killing this girl, and then ends up hiding in the walls of his house. An absolutely amazing movie that I've always talked about this one. That's out from Warner Archive. You can still get that one. I mean, when I first started talking about it, it was impossible to get, and you had to get bad bootlegs. Some other favorite ones here is The Blob, the Twilight Time one, and Body Double, which is out of print. I know this isn't really horror, but it's got horror aspects to it, but this is one of my all-time favorite movies of all time. Just absolutely love that movie. And some other weird ones in here, like Bloody New Year, that I always like. Who knows if they're ever going to do a Blu-ray of that. The Brood, which is a pretty cool one. The Beyond. Yeah, just a whole bunch of different ones here. And hopefully they put in the US at some point Candyman. I know there's I think it's a UK Blu-ray of that one. Another one I would love at some point is Chopping Mall, because there's never been a, Blu-ray or even a widescreen release of that movie. This is one that I feel like a lot of people don't know is on Blu-ray released in Canada, Cube. This is a really great movie about people who end up waking up inside this cube and have to solve and figure out how to get out of the thing. That's a great one. Cannibal Holocaust, great one. These are other ones that I can't believe are not out on Blu-ray yet. Any of the Critters movies, those are ones that you would have thought at least by now at least one of them would be released, but nope, there's still no Blu-rays of those ones. This is a bad Eddie Furlong one that I always liked, Cruel World, when it's like a bad kind of reality TV thing. But there's a lot of stuff that's still not on Blu-ray, which you'd be very surprised, like the original Carnival of Souls. I have a feeling at some point Trump is going to put out Cannibal the Musical on Blu-ray. This is another one of my favorite, really weird movies. Crawl Space. This is one of, the early Wild Eye releasing ones when they started putting out TV. I think they put out 2 TV movies, this one and another one. But this has been out of print a long time. But this is another one about an old couple who never had kids and ends up hearing some noise in the basement, and this homeless man is living in the crawl space, and then they start becoming friends with him, but then there's just something very strange about him. Another weird one here that I always liked, and it's not as relevant here because the show never aired in America, but it's like the British Big Brother show, and this was like the same people from that, the host of it and things like that, and they're in the Big Brother thing, and then all of a sudden they don't hear anybody outside. There's a zombie outbreak out, and that to me really worked, and there was a pretty cool kind of mini show, kind of mini movie, kind of mini series thing that never, I don't even know if that ever really got a US release, but that's a region-free one. And of course, I always love the Dawn of the Dead movies, and still in America, there's still no release of the extended cut or the Argento's cut on Blu-ray. And Don't Go in the Woods, Deranged was always one I really liked. It's not a huge budget or anything like that, but I really like this movie. I was really surprised with this, and love the the main lead in this one. Deathbed, the Bed That Eats, and Death Spa. This is a great one, from Gorgon Video that they started putting out on Blu-ray. But with the horror collection, I really try and keep in the main collection here, like something on the tops of some kind of things. The ones I like enough, but not love. But on the actual rows, I put the things that I really like. This one, I bought this right when it, before it went out of print, and then I never opened it. So I had a DVD I would watch of it, but I know at some point I'm going to open it, but for some reason it went out of print so early on after it came out, and then it's like so valuable. The Friday the 13th movies. Over there are all the Friday the Darks, the actual released editions. The Final Destination movies. I never bought the first one on Blu-ray. Always don't like watching that as much because, it kind of freaks me out about flying. I always get nervous about flying as it is, but I just don't really like watching that one. Freaks is a great one, which is another one I'm surprised has not gotten a Blu-ray release yet. This movie I really loved. Really weird movie called The Fan or Der Fan. Every time I think of it, I think of Bone Dust. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. This was always one that I was so glad when it came to Blu-ray Fortress. Just a really cool one. Another one that's out of print. It's the second print of releasing of Fright Night from Twilight Time. This is a bootleg of Part 2. I've seen the Part 2, but it's it's a full screen edition, so I've never really rushed out to get that one. And the remake, another one that I've always liked, Funland. Not a great movie, but the guy who directed, Michael A. Sampson, who directed both of the Sleepaway Camp sequels, did that one. Found, which was always one that was pretty good. This is another out-of-print one that, is pretty valuable and really hard to see. Future Kill. This is another one that I've always talked about and really liked, called Faceless, about like this weird plastic surgery movie. This is a really pretty cool one. A lot of different, character actors was in this one. Trying to do it with one hand here. Graduation Day. Another one that I always liked. It's been out of print a long time. Grandmother's House. About this brother and sister who go to their grandmother's house. There's something very weird about them. So they got a mega release one. Almost kind of looks like the new M. Night Shyamalan one might have taken a little bit, just a tiny bit from this idea, this one. Not a lot, but the new one, that trailer reminds me of this a little bit. Of course, the Ginger Snaps movies, the sequels, Ghoulies, Gacy, I have a lot of like those serial killer ones, and the Gacy one I always liked it because it had the actor who played Francis and Pee-wee. It's a very, very low budget movie, but it was always kind of creepy a little bit to me. Home Before Midnight, not totally a horror one, but a Pete Walker one, but to me one of my favorite ones he did. And this is another one. I was happy to have the Fade to Black, Hell Night one. And sporadically, the Halloween set. Don't have the big one, but I like this one as well, though. The Hills Have Eyes films. Hitchhike. Hitcher in the Dark, which hopefully at some point gets a Blu-ray release. That was a pretty cool one that I always liked. In Fear, Mr. Ice Cream Man, I Drink Your Blood. I think there's going to be a new release of that one from Grindhouse releasing soon. This is one that I really liked. I don't think a lot of people watched. I Will Follow You to the Dark. This was, to me, a really pretty creepy one, and a really good Misha Barton one that I don't think really anybody saw, which was really good. That other movie here, too, Inbred. Really weird movie filmed in Yorkshire, which, I don't know, I love that movie. It was very strange. It kind of fell apart at the end, and it's another Malcolm McDowell one that when I think of Malcolm McDowell, I always think of this one about him on this weird island kind of traipsing around, and there's like zombies and stuff on it. It's not great, but I always liked it. Another one I'm happy to have is Just Before Dawn, the Code Red release version. I kept the old one as well, just because I really love this movie. Janitor. This is a great one that Kristen Stewart's mother directed, like a weird prison film. Link, which was a great, kind of crazy monkey movie about this monkey that, Elizabeth Shue and, the monkey's going crazy. This is one that I hope gets a Blu-ray release too, the Jodie Foster movie, Little Girl Who Lives in a Lane. The kid in this is from Bad Ronald. Langoliers, which I don't know if we'll ever see a better print of that one, because that transfer on that is always like very TV-ish. And I don't know if there is anything even better that there would be. You know, this is another one. This is the other Ice Cream Man movie. Not the Clint Howard one, but this one I kind of like better. Because it's so cheap and so bad. Mr. Ice Cream Man. The director also made this other one I did not like. But Mr. Ice Cream Man is amazing. And another one of those really hard to find ones. If you ever see this, just get it. The cover is so cheap, but it's such a great movie. And I have some of the Code Red limited edition ones like Messiah of Evil. You know, of course, Motel Hell, one you've got to see. The Mangler. I really love that movie. Falls apart really bad the last 30 minutes, but still like it. The Mad Butcher, which I hope we get a Blu-ray of that at some point. This is I think the German release of this, of Martyrs, which is region free. Another one that I'm so happy to have. You know, the Neon Maniacs Blu-ray from Code Red. I've always loved this movie about these weird, kind of creepy monster-type characters with this real cheesy synth music in it. Of course, Night of the Comet, which is one that's like a must-see. Always been a favorite of mine about the last people on Earth. And, you know, the comet came and a whole bunch of people died from it. And other people got exposure to it and kind of turned into these weird zombie-like creatures. You know, Night of the Living Dead, the Twilight Time release one, which I never opened because I spent so much money on it, getting it at Amoeba. I remember I traded a bunch of stuff. I was like, oh, I kind of want to get that, so I just did. Of course, Night Flyer, a really great Stephen King story that is sort of a lesser talked about one. One down here, Pinocchio's Revenge, that I always kind of liked. Prince of Darkness, Opera. Hopefully we get a Blu-ray of this one. There's a lot of things that have not ever hit Blu-ray. This is a really rare one that, you know, they always try and release this one, and then it gets canceled, and, you know, Popcorn, about a group of people that are putting together this, you know, cleaning up this movie theaters. You know, this is another one, if you've not seen this movie, you know, I think this is the German release of this, but it's Perfume. This is an absolutely amazing, one of my other favorite movies. The Pet Sematary movies, still no Blu-ray of Part 2, and I always love this movie. I know it's not amazing, but for some reason I watched this one a lot more. Penance is a pretty good one. This is the Pete Walker set. I think they just released another one, but I have them all separately. But like I said, I really love Pete Walker's movies. You know, Phantom of the Paradise, you know, People Under the Stairs. But if you haven't gotten this yet, you know, don't bother with this edition because Scream Factory's putting out a new one August, you know, 2015. You know, so a couple of Trauma ones in here, a Reunion of Terror, Remote Control, another Jeff Lieberman one that I got directly from him. So if you guys didn't know, this one is out. This is a really, really cool one. It's like he's been self-distributing that one. You know, Return to Nukem High, Return of the Living Dead, and then the documentary Return of the Living Dead, More Brains. And then Part 2, and since they changed the music on Part 2's release, I had to make my own of Part 2, you know, like a burnt disc years back, so I could, you know, have the original music unchanged. And this one is a one from Vinegar Syndrome that went out of print that has Savage Water in it, which is a, you know, real rare release now. Really cool one. You know, Silver Bullet, Session 9, which to me is still one of the creepiest movies about, like, people who are going to clean up a abandoned mental asylum, and weird things start happening there. You know, Squirm, The Stuff, Suicide Club, which is a really cool one, Stepford Wives. It's hard to believe how many of these things have yet to even get a Blu-ray release. Survival Quest. Down there's a Savage Streets, the original edition that went out of print as well. I have the Blu-ray of that one on this shelf somewhere. Suspiria, which I believe is going to be a Blu-ray of this at some point. I remember back when this came out, I think it was Opera, there was like certain discs of it that were like, had to get recalled. This is the old Society one from Germany, but there's going to be a new Arrow edition of that, Arrow US title of that. Another one, this is a like a bootleg of this, but Sleeping Car, which has never even got an actual release on DVD or anything. Pretty cool one. You know, the Sleepaway Camp films, the sequels, if you guys know, are coming out soon. Scream from Scream Factory. And, you know, this video too, you know, months from now, it always, of course, changes when certain things are out and certain things aren't at the time. Tremors, at some point I got to get the sequels on Blu-ray. Troll, you know, Troll 2. Hopefully we get a Blu-ray of Troll. That's one of my favorite ones. Toxic Avenger films. That's a real gross one. The Worm Eaters and Who Slew Andy Rue was one I really like. A little hard to see back there. What's Your Massacre, a great shot on video one. The Willies, which is one that I've always loved since I was a kid. And I have a couple editions of this one. But a great, like kind of kid kind of anthology film from like the early 90s. So, that's a look at, you know, a little overview of my entire horror movie collection. Leave me comments below and let me know if, like, going through the collection, if there's any ones that you would, like, notice that I didn't have and definitely need to pick up. So anyway, though, guys, thanks so much for watching and subscribing. Definitely give this video a thumbs up if you'd like to see me do more of these kind of overview videos. And I'll see you guys later.